overcome bottlenecks, and achieve success. This is Scale Labs.
So welcome to Scale Labs. If you guys are not familiar with this, this is the entire show where we sit down with real business owners to break down the bottlenecks holding their business back and build a practical roadmap for growth. So today we're joined by Stuart, founder of Valkyrie Inspirations. What's going on, man?
Hey, brother. Thank you for introducing me. Valkyrie Inspirations has been an idea that I've slowly turned into a business. As a small business owner, a lot of bottlenecks that I've hit have been trying to run social media and trying to just get the visibility of my brand being out there and a brand awareness.
Okay. So what did you do in the military? What did you do in the military? Kind of give you a little bit of your backstory.
So, I was a cook in the military for 13 years. I joined in June of 2001. Got out in April of 2014. I was a cook. I deployed to Afghanistan twice. First time was with 108th Air Defense Artillery. More to the Gulf Coast in Bahrain to do defense than actually aggressive. But then in 2012, I deployed with 361 Cav 44 ID out of Fort Carson. And we went to the Nangarhar province over there in Afghanistan. And let's just say the hotel service sucked over there. I would not recommend it.
Oh yeah. Was it I tell people all the time from the time that I went over there that it's a 0 out of 5 star on Yelp.
I would have to agree on that. I don't know. I'd have to give it a half a star because the mountain view is actually decent when I wasn't seeing shit from it.
All the fun stuff, right? The catering
Right.
service was a hit or a miss depending on the day.
Right.
But did you guys get rippets? That's the real question.
Actually, yes, we did get a crap ton of Rippets and Gatorade, so that
Well,
was
there you
something
go.
that the boys survived off of.
This is not sponsored by Rippet by all means, so it's
No,
all
it's
good.
not.
But yeah, so let's dive a little bit more into the business side as a whole.
A lot of it, I would have to say, was just the inspirations and aspirations from my friends, family, and just seeing everything else out there. And I feel like with the world moving so fast here lately, that individuals just need a place to come and sit down and slow down for a minute.
I
Uh,
like it.
and a lot of it has just been trial and error, throwing what I've turned into hobbies and inspirations and ideas, slowly turning into products and merchandise. Um, did a little side hustles on the side, cutting into doing some, I guess, side business for friends and whatnot. And they're asking me, well, what are you trying to get into? Why are you doing this? I'm like, I'm just doing this just to do it because I want to.
Right.
Um, but I believe a lot of people need to realize that there's beauty everywhere as long as we slow down to realize that it's there.
I love it.
And with Valkyrie Inspirations, I have taken a step forward and incorporated my daily skills and what I've learned throughout my life, and I'm incorporating them into live videos and to reels and just trying to share knowledge on how people can slow down for a minute and to help with all the static and noise that everybody goes through on a daily life.
I do have a couple questions for you just to kind of get a little bit more background on Valkyrie Inspirations. Uh, uh,
So Valkyrie inspirations. Oh, I think that just kind of merely came to me more as a thought dream per se. I dabbled around with a few other names. I think I threw around like Defender's Dress and uh, like battle worn images and stuff like that. But I'm like, nothing really fit what I was trying to emotionally put out there.
Okay.
And so I'm thinking more along the lines of a veteran, and veterans have the belief that, when we die, we're all going to Valhalla, and so that came part of the whole backbone of Valkyrie, because she's the one that takes the warriors from the battlefield to Valhalla.
Okay.
So, I mean, to me, a Valkyrie is a saving grace. Granted, we've been through some crap. We came back, but you know, that's what they're there for, is to be that guardian for us. And the inspirations part is just the ability to be myself and to be able to portray what I believe is stillness and awareness, and to be able to be present in the moment.
Awesome.
And with Valkyrie inspirations, it's more of trying to be in the presence, in the moment, stop the noise, and to stop the spiral when you're going down that rabbit hole.
Okay. So do you feel like a lot of veterans are struggling with rebuilding their identity after the service then?
I honestly do. I would say I'm a prime example, because I was a cook, like I said, in the military, and after my first deployment, I realized that I had no life after the military. So I was like, okay, well, while I'm in the service, let me get my college degree. And so I went to college for criminal justice. I thought I was going to get out, be this all who go get them, go stop, fight crime. And reality kind of knocked me in my place on that one, because I had that military experience, military background, and the educational background, I just didn't have that per se law enforcement knowledge skills that they were
Hmm.
looking for.
Okay.
Uh, and so instead of going law enforcement, I mean, I still went law enforcement. I was a correctional officer with the Kentucky DOC. Uh, and I mean, and I was struggling to find out who I really was as a person, trying to figure out who I was fitting in. Because I figured corrections after the military was paramilitary, I could go do certain things that still involved military and the organization and the structure of command and everything else, but civilians and military are two different lanes
Oh
with
yeah.
structure. Um, and so I found myself wandering around, finding another job after being there for 2.5 years. Worked at a fulfillment stocking for somebody else, and I'm like, what am I really getting out of this? I'm getting knowledge and experience, but what am I building for my future? And from there, I was also kind of far away from my family, because at that time I lived in Shelbyville and I worked in Louisville, so it was a struggle. And then I worked there, and then I found a job closer to my home that I seemed to have wanted to fit in. Worked for Valvoline for about 10 months to a year. Uh, and it was a fast-paced job. It was a high turnover rate job. I could see why. Um, and just getting that experience from everything else and bouncing around from Valvoline and from corrections and from doing fulfillment. I was felt like I didn't have that purpose.
Right.
I was going somewhere, but was I actually going somewhere? Or was life just leading me to go somewhere? And from there, uh, I I guess I hit a brick wall at Valvoline, and I left Valvoline and went to work for the Red Cross. And I loved working for the Red Cross as a phlebotomist with them. Um, and I would say if you can, just go donate blood to save lives.
Awesome.
Uh,
Yeah. I think a lot of people watching can connect with that, especially veterans trying to rebuild that purpose after service. Because, I mean, I'm a firm believer too that the military does a decent job of setting us up for success, but I think once you get out, it kind of feels like everything you've done is totally different than what they kind of set the expectations for. And I actually got out for a little bit and then went back in the military because I didn't know what I wanted to do. But let's talk about where the business currently stands because that's what we're here for, right? So on the form that you filled out, you mentioned that you're feeling pulled in many different directions, right? What is what does that kind of currently look like on a day to day?
uh,
Hard question right out of the gate.
Very hard question, especially right out of the gate. On a day-to-day basis, I struggle finding the starting point of exactly where to go. Right now,
Okay.
I'm in the foundation phase, or building up my foundation phase. I'm starting to build my four pillars and starting to go from there. Do have one view starting to narrow down. But I was being pulled to what did I need to do first? Was it create reels to get visibility or to get discoverability? What was I needing to create merchandise first before being able to be doing all this other stuff? Did I need to constantly post daily to content to get people engaged? Like I was being pulled from every which direction of where did I need to start first.
Okay. So you also mentioned that you're building apparel, storytelling a little bit, some journals. I know we've talked a little bit about that, some stickers, content, and a community. Do you feel like trying to build everything at once is creating some of that overwhelming feeling though?
I do, especially since a lot of it I've been. I'm more of an aspiration type of guy. I'm a go getter. I want to get as much as I can out there to help as many people as I can, and in doing so, I'm also burning myself mentally, and physically.
Mm-hmm.
Burning out on the business, slowing down a lot, not really wanting to kicking my feet basically, kicking rocks to say, well, I'll just do it another day. I'll do it another day.
Okay. Do you feel like though that like you have clarity on the first thing that should grow? Like out of all of those that you've talked about, what's the first thing that you feel like this is what needs to grow and everything else can kind of fall into place?
After finding a lot of the clarity, I've realized and cluttered overall the mess, and we've talked about, uh, it is basically finding your identity, finding out why you're doing it, is always the main foundation. Because if you don't focus on your why daily, you're gonna lose that sight of what you're doing and why you're doing it. You're gonna lose you're gonna start dwindling away from your purpose.
Okay. So out of the things that you're building though, like the apparel, the journals, all of that, what do you think is the one thing that you have to focus on to make the revenue to grow the rest of it? If you had to choose one.
I would have to say focus more on the lives and the reels,
Okay, so more like the community aspect?
more the community aspect, and growing the mentality and the presence of slowing down. Because after they realize that this is authentic, true, and real, then the apparel and journals and stickers and journals will actually feel more artifact and more architectural to what I'm building.
Mm-hmm.
But it all mainly focuses down on the identity of the reels, of being in the present, being in the moment, and being aware of who you are.
Okay. I think community is probably one of the most important things that a lot of small businesses actually miss out on anyway. It's very important. A lot of people think social media is there to just post things, but it's really good for building that community. I know you've been going live a lot as well, so it's a really good experience to build that community up, interact with people. You never know who's watching, and you never know whose lives are being changed. What does consistency look like for you though, like on a daily basis?
Ooh. Very productive day would probably be starting from scratch, designing a t-shirt, getting the idea of what I want to design first, and extracting the image design from my head into uh I guess a digital pixel format.
Yep.
But then also while I'm designing and formatting, I'm also thinking philosophically, what does this mean? How is it going to inspire somebody? How is it going to help someone who's struggling? Not
Okay.
not just struggling per se in business, but struggling in life, struggling to find that quiet within the noise.
Okay. So trying to put some of that design stuff up front is kind of a big thing, and
It really is, but then once I have the design how I want it, then it's all about going into my shop, going into where I need to make it look good and designing it to make sure that it's gonna fit, and a lot of tweaks here and there. And then once I get that done and published, and then I go and I look at what probably needs to be revised, whether it's my journals or another design or anything of that sort. And then I'm also working on designing my website still. So within that, like, don't really have a per se dedicated time block.
hmm
Probably should, but I feel more my mind and body will tell me more when it's done than a time set will.
okay. Yep.
Um, because visually I'll know when it's done versus when a timer says, "Hey, I'm done."
Okay. You have people that preach all the time about, setting certain times to do X, Y, and Z, and then as soon as that timer goes off, you move to the next one. Um, I'm not a fan of those either. I think time block overall is efficient, but I don't think that it needs to be set in stone to where it's, oh, I only have an hour to design this. Because then once that hour gets closer, it starts coming, issues. You're trying to crunch things in and all of that, and it becomes a big issue overall.
Agree.
So,
And that's when a lot of mistakes are made is when you look at the time, you're like, okay, well, I got this amount of time, but I still got this amount of left, and that's when mistakes actually happen.
yep. So with that though, how are you managing the content or the workflows or any of the projects?
Ugh.
like if a new project comes in, how are you managing that? Are you putting it on a calendar? Are you keeping it in your brain and hoping that you remember it?
Uh, Majority of the time, I'm using my very specific tools as a solopreneur, entrepreneur. I admit there are some great tools out there for us. Um, I input a lot of my ideas into Chat GPT, and as a subscriber, it kind of helps talk with me and helps me understand my idea a little bit more. But I also discuss it more with the community
Mhm.
versus the automated side of everything because I'll get more of an emotional answer.
Okay.
Um, but as far as ideas, it's either jotting them down in a notebook or talking to them to Chat GPT saying, hey, it's a brain blast, keep it as a pen and we'll come back to it later. um, one.
So let me ask you this: where's mainly your audience and your customers coming from?
A lot of my customers have been families, uh, family members, and friends and acquaintances that I have in the local community, um, and just by a lot of word of mouth. Uh, I have a couple of I guess, small structures set up on two different websites. One's Tidu, and the other one is Amazon. Um, But the main structure is going to be falling under my actual website, ValkyrieInspirations.com, which is going to be coming opening right around the corner, actually June 1st.
No.
Um, a lot of my attention, like you said, it has been coming from, like I said, family members and the local community, word of mouth, and just by helping people out.
It looks like one of the big ones is you kind of feel overloaded. Like there's a lot going on. Um, you kind of lack a little bit of an operational routine where, you're doing things based on feeling and trying to get it done. But you doesn't seem like you have necessarily a routine that you follow every day, right?
I don't.
Okay. Um, the one question we haven't talked about yet is what is the one core offer that you have? That if someone asks you what you sell, what's the first thing that you push? Or do you not have one yet?
My core offer is mainly more philosophy and finding your inner presence and finding the awareness that there's beauty everywhere as long as you slow down to visually see it. But you have to
Okay.
slow down and be present to notice it.
Okay. So your core offer is more of a community of like-minded individuals?
I would say yes.
Okay.
Like-minded individuals who want to be more aware of themselves and to better themselves.
Okay. It seems like you're trying to run two different lanes right now. You're trying to build a movement, but you're also trying to build products at the same time. Uh, it seems like you're struggling with that internally, but you're also struggling with it externally. And that's a lot of founders do that. I mean, I do it on a daily basis. I haven't met a founder yet that doesn't feel like that they're overloaded and trying to do 500 things at once. The shiny object syndrome is really bad with business owners.
That
Uh,
that that it is. It's every which direction there always seems to be a shiny object and well, this is a fast pace. Maybe we can try this instead of focusing on that one lane that
yep.
we're actually going in.
I want to shift from kind of looking at some of the bottlenecks to actually creating some solutions. So this way you understand kind of what you have to tackle the next 30 days. Uh, that's going to be kind of our next focus is really just focusing on coming up with that 30-day plan.
Yep.
But the immediate priority, what is the one thing that needs the most focus right now? That's what we want to focus on first.
Mhm.
And what is the one thing that you think if you could take everything out of your business but one thing, what do you think is that biggest priority?
Building the movement. Community, same thing. Like-minded individuals, people who are understanding what they're looking for.
Yep. I'm not saying that you have to get rid of everything that, brings in revenue for your business or, everything that doesn't pertain to the movement, but you want to spend most of your time focusing on that movement. You want to live and breathe that movement as much as possible. Uh,
Right.
so you really want to focus on building a movement to where all you're thinking about is that movement. So everything else is good because it can help pay the bills, but I really want you to try to focus on that movement. What can I do today to push that movement forward? What can I do to, you know, maybe tweak it a little bit to make it have more clarity? How can I find more people to join the movement? Uh, there's a saying that a lot of people talk about when they're growing businesses that, you want to talk about it to the point that people think you're insane because that's all you talk about.
Right. I remember we
Right?
talked about that before.
Yep. So week one, so we're going to break these down into 4 weeks. And it's not necessarily an exact 30 days, just break it down into weeks so we can really focus on refining your business, tweaking it a little bit to get you back on that track, right?
Right.
So week one is all about the clarity and focus. There's kind of 4 big points that I really want to have you focus on. So this way you become stronger going into week two. And what I would recommend is you keep your live videos going because you want to build that habit. You want to keep that information flowing. The very first thing I really want you to focus on is defining your audience. You have this movement, but the movement's not going to be for everyone, right?
Right.
So, who is that ideal customer? Who is that ideal person? Like, if you had that one person inside your community that you could throw on a photocopier and make 100 of them, who would that person be?
Anybody who's burnt out, anybody who feels like they're stuck in the same routine, complacency, veterans who constantly struggle with PTSD, noise. Um, I would say those are the top three ones.
So that's 3 different audiences right there. And all 3 could fit into the community, but we really want to focus on one. So, who is that one group that you want to speak to first? Who would you say that you have the most connection with?
Anybody who's just burnt out.
Okay. Choosing that one focus. What I would recommend is we've already kind of talked about what that core piece of your business is, which is the community. I would choose that one primary focus and I would put that, front and center every day. If it's on your lock screen of your phone, if it's on the wallpaper of your computer, whatever it is, make sure that that focus is there. What is it that you are pushing towards? So this way, when you go to sit down to start doing some design, maybe you can look at it and think, hey, this design may not be as important as growing the community right this minute. I would ask yourself every time you get ready to do something business related, is it helping move that community forward? If it's not important this month. It's just
Yeah.
not. Unless it's obviously, a paid client, that's a different story. But if it doesn't move that community forward or it doesn't get more people into the community, it doesn't exist.
Right.
I would honestly recommend though, I would look at creating a schedule. I would take the first week of writing down a schedule and really so we can dial in what it is that you're trying to achieve. If you do your lives every day or every other day, what is it that you're doing in those off times to move that community forward?
Right.
So, and when I get into time blocking, what I like to do is I like to do a little bit mixture of regular time blocking and kind of an importance time blocking, as I call it, which is essentially where if I'm working from 9 to noon on a project, a creative project, because I'm better off in the morning, what I do is I'll work on it from 9 to noon. And as it gets closer to noon, I may not be finished, and that's okay. I work on trying to get to a stopping point so I can shift gears and focus on the next task. You don't have to be finished at noon. It's just that's the time that you allot yourself to be as creative as possible. Because because the big issue that a lot of people run into is if you're creative from 9 to 10, you're working on it, your kid comes in or something happens, you get distracted and you keep coming back. You're never going to get as far as if you can just focus on that one task. What I would recommend is, you've already mentioned that you're kind of more creative in the morning. What is some of that stuff inside your business that's going to help supplement that community, do you think?
It's not more about supplementing the community. It's more about it's more about the physical attachment to the community.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the journals and apparel and stickers is all about. But the community is basically just gathering around a digital campfire and everybody understanding, the pains and struggles and helping one each other out.
Yep. Do you have a place where they can gather outside of the live
I
video?
have not created a Facebook community page yet.
Okay.
Right now, it's on. All I have is just been posting a lot of inspirational content on both my personal page through Facebook and through Valkyrie Inspirations Facebook page.
Okay. I would look at one of those, Facebook group or a group on a different channel, possibly wherever your audience is sitting, which is most likely Facebook because you can do a lot of lives there. I would look at doing that, and then at the end of every live, I would let them know, and I would put a link in there to join the group. And you're not trying to sell them, obviously, but you're trying to get them into a community. They can still feel connected. They can still feel like they have a place to go to, right?
Right.
So that's what I would focus on week one as well, is creating that Facebook group. And it may just be you for the first couple of times. And even if it is just you, post things in there. Some of your inspirational stuff that you post on your personal page, post that inside the Facebook groups.
Right.
So this way, when someone joins that Facebook group, they already have content that they can ingest, right?
Mhm.
And then that's a twofold thing. One, it's going to help you build up that community. So this way, if you want to sell the journals and stuff down the road, you already have an audience that you can sell them to.
Right. That's
And
actually a really good, decent idea.
Yep. And two, it gives you that platform to show, mentally that, hey, what I'm doing is actually working. As more and more people join, you start getting that internal satisfaction as well. So for the first week, focus on the Facebook group. We're going to focus on time blocking for that. So, and what I mean by that is, if you set from 9 to 12 for Facebook group, that's the only thing you're focusing on in that time frame. Okay? No thinking about your lives, no thinking about, what you got to do to edit your journal or anything like that. It's just that time is dedicated solely to that Facebook group. But I'll kind of give you a template to follow, so this way you can try to plug it in and see if it works for you, and really, really help keep you in line with that focus. But the more distractions you can remove during that time, just to focus on that, is going to go a lot further and push you a lot further in that time frame than you will if you just keep coming back to it scattered. And then also, the last thing I would do is really focus on reducing your scattered priorities. I know you have a lot going on the external side of the business, but really taking a look at that focus of what you want to do, which is that community, and really put forth that effort into reducing the other priorities that are not important to that community.
Right.
This is where it comes down to that discipline that we learned in the military, right?
Right.
If you really want to focus on growing your community, there's certain sacrifices in your personal side that you might have to cut out to focus on the community side. So the first week, what I want you to do is I want you to kind of take an internal audit of what you do throughout the week. You don't have to get rid of it all that week, but focus on what it is that you do that's not your community, homesteading, or your family. You'd be surprised at how much time is actually kind of just dwindled away when you're not really focused on what you're trying to accomplish, right?
Right.
So I would focus on that the first week, because in the second week, we're getting into, which is the content consistency. That's where you're really going to hit your stride, right? We can't have consistent content if we're busy. We don't have a consistent time block to create the content. I would focus on creating the content themes. I would recommend creating themes around each topic. So, your lives, when you're talking about stuff, pick a theme to talk about for that live, and really home on it.
I have a short series that I'm going to be doing with it.
Awesome. So when you're not doing the lives, because the lives are kind of set in stone, right, of a certain time that you try to hit every day.
I try to hit every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m.
Okay.
1900.
So you have 5 other days during the week that you can post content, right?
Right.
So you can still post content in those 2 days, but 5 other days that are wide open that people are not expecting you to post content. So what I would recommend doing is, that's where batching content comes in. What that means is essentially that, going back to that time block thing, if you, from 9 to noon on a Tuesday, you pick your theme of your content that you're creating, and that's all you create, you have a batch of content that you can schedule out.
Right.
So that's what I would focus on trying to dial in, is really getting that content batched. So this way it's not mentally straining, because if you're talking about, suicide prevention for veterans, and then you're talking about, something totally different, your brain's jumping around too much. You really want to dial in on a batch of content inside of time blocks. So this way you can create those with consistency. Oh, and then creating that posting schedule. Now that you have the batch of content, you want to create it. You can do it through Facebook, you can do it through Opus Clip, you can do it whatever software you choose. But really focus on scheduling that content out. I'm a big proponent of scheduling content out, because if you schedule it out, then it becomes that ability that if something happens in your daily life, you're not held up. You already have content going out there, so it's okay if you have to move some things around in your schedule. So scheduling that content out will be huge for you.
Right.
But remember, schedule it out on those themes. So you want to think ahead. If Tuesday is about, veteran suicide prevention, maybe post some stuff around that on Monday and Wednesday as well.
Right.
But the big thing is that a lot of people struggle with on social media is that they focus on the results, which is good. But for you and your community, you want to focus on that storytelling. That's what people are going to latch onto, right?
I mean, I realized that I was focused on, well, why is nobody watching me? Why is nobody watching me? And now I changed that mentality to, I don't care if anybody's watching me. I just hope that somebody's actually getting the message across.
Yep.
And being consistent with how I'm talking, even if no one shows up, I'm still talking to someone.
Exactly. And that's the best part about storytelling, is you're telling those stories whether someone's there to listen or not, right?
Right.
And sometimes the best thing to do is just getting that story off your chest. That can do wonders for your own health as well. So that's what I would focus on in week 2, is building the reoccurring theme, the batch content,
Yep.
and creating the posting schedules, and then focus on the storytelling.
Mhm.
So we have the clarity and focus, the content consistency, and then week 3 is going to be, how do we monetize this now? We're not saying that you're going to try to monetize, within the first 30 days, but you want to have that path before it gets too big.
Right.
Right? You want to refine that customer journey, really create that monetization path. And it could be those journals. That journal could be the first step in your monetization path,
It could be, yes.
because they get into your community. You have the Facebook group. Maybe you're collecting their emails and you're, giving them that motivation. And then what's that next step? Now that they're in your group, what's the next step that you can give them that, yeah, they'll have to pay for, but it's going to help them along in this journey?
Right.
So I want you to focus on a monetization path. What does that look like from the time that first time they see you to the time that they're willing to give you money? We need to map that out, and we need to understand what that looks like.
Okay.
Because without that, your business isn't necessarily a business. It's just a community that people can come hang out with. You want to make money off of it because you put in a lot of hard work for it. You should get rewarded for it.
I agree on that. Yes.
And what I
Right.
would recommend is something thinking about, okay, when they come into the Facebook group, how can I get their contact information?
Right.
Because you don't want to try to sell it inside the Facebook group because then people will think the Facebook group is all about being spammy and trying to sell things, right?
Right.
It's what I would look at is how can we take them from the Facebook group and bring them onto our own platform where it's emails, where it's, other systems.
Right. Email captures, text captures, things like
Yep.
that. That way you're able to still contact the customers, individuals.
Yep. And really push that journey through. What I would recommend is taking from that Facebook group, figuring out a way that you can collect that email and start giving them content through email. So now they have a live that they go to get some good content from you. They have a Facebook group that they get good content from. And then on top of that, they also have emails that they're getting content off. So there's multiple touch points, multiple places that you're building that trust.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that?
Okay. I can see that happening.
So it's all about building that trust as much as possible.
Always.
Because
City and trust with the customer.
think about when you and I first met, right? You thought that it was going to be a full sales tag, program right away, but the goal is to just help you out as much as possible.
Always.
So the more trust that you give them, the more they're willing to hand over money. As a business, you have to safeguard that revenue coming in.
Right.
The next thing you want to look at is your systems and growth. How can you scale it up at that point?
Mm-hmm.
So week 4 is going to be all about organizing your workflows. By this time, we should have a good understanding of what, your business is looking like on a daily basis, and trying to organize it for more optimal performance. A lot of small businesses fail because they try to optimize before they even have a system in place. You have to build out simple operational systems. So, for instance, maybe week 3, you're starting to collect those emails and you're sending them out manually. Well, now that you know what they should say and you know which ones are clicking and converting, then we spend that time to optimize those where they automate. So this way you don't have to take the time every single week to write out those emails and send them out. And then this is where the fun part is too, because as a business owner, after you start automating those systems, you have more free time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you can look at how can I make more money? How can I offer more services to these people that need my services? And maybe you look at growing a coaching program around it. And maybe that's where you can start charging $5,000-$10,000 a year to be a part of your mastermind program. And that's how you can start making more and more money. A lot of small businesses focus on that core offer first, where it's that journal, but then they stress out that they're not making tons of money off of it. Those things are never meant to make tons of money.
No.
It's all about the long-term vision. What is the next step after the journal? What is the next step after that? What is the next step after that? That's what we want to map out. I think it would be a good option to look at like mastermind programs and coaching programs where you can teach people these systemized processes on how to get through what you've been through.
Mm-hmm.
It could be down the road, but I think it would be a good idea because then you have these people that are paying you monthly that are paying more attention to you, that you're actually changing lives. It's okay to ask for money as long as you're changing people's lives.
Right.
And a lot of people ask for money too soon. If you play that long game of building that community up, you can ask for the money down the road and you'll make more money in a long term.
Okay.
And then the fun part is you're just measuring the consistency and repeating. You're looking at what's working and what's not working. You're cutting the stuff that's not working, and you're just redoing that whole system over and over and over. So
retuning your engine.
Exactly. So what I'll do is I'm going to create the PDF for you. The big thing is really focusing on that time blocking, and I'll break down every single week for you. So this way you have a plan. And then once we have the plan, let's put it into action.
Right.
So as we wrap this up, though, there's a couple of things that I want to ask you. What do you hope veterans and other people feel when they interact with your brand?
Peace, stillness, quiet.
Okay. If Valkyrie Inspiration succeeds long term, what impact do you hope that it leaves when you're done with it?
The impact that I hope that it leaves is that it leaves a footprint with somebody that has made a positive change in their life.
Okay.
Whether it's a small change or it's a major change over time. You know, just knowing that it's out there to help make changes and to help change people's lives. That's what really means the most to me.
Okay. Awesome. I do think a lot of people will connect with your story and where you're going because there's a lot of craziness going on, and a lot of people are stressed and they're looking for ways to help. So I think if you stay consistent, you're going to see those results happening. And
Speaking of changing people's lives, probably about a month ago when I was doing my lives, I actually had an old friend from high school reach out to me and you know, they said, "Hey, thank you for, you know, sharing what you do." They actually told me I share them to people to hopefully that need the inspiration.
awesome. And those mean much more than anything else, right?
Right.
And
And
I
I mean, always having someone in your corner to support you is always the biggest motivation is always there. Whether it's friends, family, strangers, you know, someone who's always there to help motivate you to do better.
one is where can people find more about you online?
Oh no. Let's see. So far, I have my Facebook page right now. Currently, the website is under construction. But here shortly, it's going to be ValkyrieInspirations.com. Um, I also have my Instagram. I post my reels and my videos, my lives on YouTube as well under Valkyrie Inspirations. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok.
If there's one piece of advice that you can give another business owner, what is it?
Today might not be the day that you're making $1 million, but one day it will be. As
Keep
long
fighting
as
that
you
fight,
stay
right?
consistent.
Staying in that fight long enough, right, to see the
Right.
results. It's like,
As I always say, tell the dog in the fight, but you can't take the fight out of the dog.
yep. Or the one that I like is, you're gonna keep getting hit, and you just got to keep getting back up and keep pushing forward.
Exactly.
Some months are better than others. Like,
I hope they get better. You
yep.
know, as they say, when it rains, it pours. But at the end of the rain, there's a rainbow.
Right. Well, I appreciate you coming on to Scale Labs with me, man. It was great to hear more about your vision. Do you have anything else you want to add to it, or, if not, I mean, let's get that plan going and let's get it executed for you.
Uh, I actually enjoyed our interview. Thank you for having me on here again. And I've learned a lot more just sitting here having another conversation with you, just like we're sitting here talking as we're friends trying to figure shit out, stuff out.
Yeah, that's all we
And,
can do, man.
you know, as long as we have each other's backs, that we can do anything.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, brother.